under GAGUT, and we want to look at the churches, the black church, because that's an institution which has the capacity and the ability to fund and build the Institute of GAGUT. Why should churches support GAGUT? What do they get out of it?
Yes, well, the reason has a historical dimension, obviously. From the time of the ancient Africans, there was a select group that comes from an ancient African community that is paid purely to think and do research. In other words, their time is allocated to purely thinking and doing research to develop philosophies that will guide the society. That's their job. Now, then in the process, they were able to develop these philosophies, part of which resulted in religious belief system and philosophies. Okay? That then in turn became like a division of labor. Within the division of labor concept became a department of its own, which is philosophies, religious, philosophies and religious practices. They then took upon themselves to organize learning and thinking and philosophy development. Organize it meaning that they would have funding not only for the individuals to do the thinking and research of philosophies, but to build schools where everybody else can be educated, not who may not necessarily be experts. All right. This was going on, and of course, the religious component developed into churches, or mosques or temples, right? And so the schools developed by these thinkers, or these thinkers themselves, would start developing their institutions right from the basements of these worshiping places, simply because the worship places have collection money that they will collect among the people that worship in that center. Okay, they will contribute money, so they have money. They could put up a temple. Okay, now the thinkers don't necessarily have their own source of money, so therefore they would start in the basement of the temples. Okay? And they will gather there, they will learn. Usually they will start from the religious thing, which is like a Sunday class or something like that, Sunday school, and build up on that and diversify into something that may not ordinarily be considered religious. Okay? But it's a thinking process, it's a research, it's an extension of the religious, if you will, religious philosophies, okay? Into maybe a more practical kind of situation. So they would do stuff like that. So that's what our ancestors did, okay? They build the universities in the process, okay? Now, and the learning centers, okay? When you hear about Pythagoras, okay, grew up in ancient Kemet, okay, and learned mathematics there. He was a citizen of Egypt, okay, of Kemet, okay, and learned mathematics there. Yes, he was a citizen, okay. And he went to school there. In fact, the first Greek mathematician, that went to establish mathematics in Greece, studied in Kemet. Okay? I can't think of his name right now, but he studied in Kemet. No, not Pythagoras. It was no. It was before those. Anaxagoras. Anaxagoras. I think that was the name. Anaxagoras. Okay. Now he studied and then went to establish mathematics in Greece. Now, while he was establishing, in Greece, he would teach his students to the level that he had learned from Kemet or from Egypt. And when they would ask him, we want to learn more. And then he would tell them, well, that's as much as I can teach you. If you want to learn more, you got to go to Egypt. That's Anaxagoras. Anaxagoras, okay, that was the name. Anyway, but where they were going in Egypt was basically in the temples and buildings that came from the temples, which are equivalent of the churches and the mosques. So there was no question that is your question. I'm trying to give a historical component to in answering your question now. Now, fast forward a little bit to the European appearance on the scene of learning and philosophy development and higher education. You take Cambridge, for example. Okay? Cambridge came into prominence primarily because of Newton in the 1600s.
Yeah.
All right. Most people know a lot about Newton, but they didn't know that Newton was an ordained minister of the Church of England. Simply because, well, the central location of Cambridge to begin with is called the Trinity College, or one of the central locations is called Trinity College. Trinity College. Now, Trinity College basically is a name from the Bible, Trinity, the Holy Trinity. Okay, that's where that is, okay? So you can say that Cambridge is like the starter from a basement of the Church of England. Because the most central, one of the central portion of it is called Trinity College. That means it's a name from the church.